Hey Bat fans, Luke here back with another video, and I recently read Batman issue number 26, which serves as the second installment of the War and Jokes and Riddles, and I'm going to tell you, my reaction to the story so far has been extremely positive. I'm loving it. I think Tom King is really putting into place little pieces that are really going to make into a really exciting story between an epic confrontation between clash of two of Batman's greatest villains, the Joker and the Riddler. And after reading this issue, again the second installment, I kind of figured, hey, this is kind of like a good segue to kind of maybe do kind of a look at some of the Batman classic books, and then maybe we should just go ahead and kind of take a look at maybe a Joker or Riddler story. So I thought maybe let's do the Joker. But the Joker, to be honest, it would have been kind of easy to do the Joker. And not that it's easy to kind of review a Joker story, it's just easy in the fact that it's been done a million times before. How many videos have you seen, stories for the Killing Joke or the Man Who Laughs? It's easy. It's out there, and am I going to be breaking any new ground? Probably not. But there was one story I was really considering taking a look at, and it's Lovers and Madmen. And I will at some point do a video on that one because I do have some thoughts on it I want to share. But I just figured, let's not do the Joker. Let's do the Riddler. And I think it'd be kind of appropriate to maybe take a look at Riddler because, again, this is kind of centered a year, pretty much right after the events of Zero Year. So I was like, well, heck, let's go ahead and take a look at the beginnings of the Riddler and the Zero Year story. So I was considering taking a look at Zero Year. This is volume 5, but the story actually begins in volume 4. But again, maybe at some point I will take a look at Zero Year because I think it's a very controversial story. One that some people loved it, some people hated it. Myself, I liked it. But I figured, this might not be the right time. Might be a little too early to take a look at Zero Year. Maybe later on down the road. Kind of let it resonate a little more too. I just figured now might not be the best time to take a look at Zero Year. Then I was really considering, and I'm not doing it today, but I will do one pretty soon, a video on this story, Batman, King Tut's Tomb. But I figured, while this is a good Riddler story, I dealt more with, obviously, the character King Tut, and he's a Hawkman in there. It's at some point I will do a video on this one. I just figured, again, might not be the best time to do it. So then I remembered I've been really wanting to do a video on this story, which we're going to take a look at, and that is Batman, Dark Knight, and Dark City. I've been really wanting to take a look at this for a while and share my thoughts on it because I think this is a very good trade. This trade collects, I believe, it's 5 stories. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 stories. The story Dark Knight, Dark City, written by Peter Milligan, can be found. It's a 3-parter found in the pages of Batman issues 452 to 454. But this trade also collects the story The Hunger Grass, found in Detective Comics issue 629. It has And the Executioner Wore Stiletto Heels, we found in pages 600 in issue 630 of Detective Comics. Then we have a 2-part story, The Golem of Gotham, which is found in Detective Comics issue 631 and 632. And it also contains the story Identity Crisis, which can be found in Detective Comics 633. Now, this review is really going to focus heavily on Dark Knight, Dark City, but I'll kind of maybe share some real brief thoughts on the Hunger Grass and the Executioner Wore Stiletto Heels, the Golem of Gotham, and Identity Crisis. Now, Batman, Dark Knight, Dark City. Again, written by Peter Milligan. I believe that I can say with pretty much accuracy that this shows a side of the Riddler that really is not only uses his mental acumen as a strength, but proves that he will go to the extreme to show off his superiority, to get what he wants, and to topple the Batman. And this story will show that, hey, all bets are off. Kind of like when we saw in Zero Year, where when he crippled Gotham, hey, all bets are off. You'll see elements of this story here where it's evident that Riddler will not go a place where he will not hold back. And some of the elements of the story does serve as a gut punch to some people, especially if you're a parent. There are some elements of the story where it will make you cringe a little bit. There's some violent elements of the story. Now, it's not like a rated R movie, but I will say maybe this is something little kids shouldn't be reading, because there are some scenes of a lot of blood, some violence in here, and some killings here and there. So maybe not the best book for a little one to read. But again, it's not for just to do it. It has a purpose, which I think it allows it and kind of gives it credibility. In that this all goes, again, shows all of it actually being elements of the story, but to reinforce the fact that the Riddler will cross any bounds, again, to prove his superiority, mental acumen, and to oust Batman. And what this story is, it's a modern, it's set in the modern age, not really modern age, that's kind of a bad way of saying it, but it has elements of a flashback, which are told through a journal of someone, I believe, 1794, am I right? That's 1793, I was 1 year off. And fast forward to circa modern day in the story. Now, what the journal element of the story deals with it's telling the story of these group of 4 individuals, one of which being Thomas Jefferson before he entered politics, of these group of individuals conducting this ritual. And this ritual involves a human sacrifice where the young lady had to be prepped through 6 different phases to be ready for this human sacrifice. And why they are doing this sacrifice is to gain control of the mythical figure, the Barbatos. Now, if you are a reader of Grant Morrison's run, the word Barbatos should ring a bell, especially the Return of Bruce Wayne, that early first or second issue when it dealt with the cave and whatnot, what what's the right word? Prehistoric humans? That might even be but what they had on the wall in the cave, that Barbatos, that's referenced here. So they got to make this ritual on this human sacrifice to gain control of the spirit of the Barbatos. But something goes wrong during the ritual. Thomas Jefferson obviously has cold feet. He backs out, but in doing so, they awaken the spirit, and the members flee. But in doing so, they trap the young lady who's being sacrificed, and she basically is trapped in there and dies. And the 4 individuals flee, and some commit suicide, some move to Canada, but the place that was done, the ritual was done, was later sold. And what happened and what this practice was never really spoken again, but it really did haunt the people who did this ritual as time goes forward. So what happens again? So all this story was collected in this journal. And eventually what happens is that the Riddler gets a hold of this journal, and he wants to gain control of Gotham and the spirit of the Bat, and how he's going to do it. He's going to take down the Batman. And how he's going to take down the Batman is to gain control of the spirit of Barbatos, and the sacrifice he is going to make is the sacrifice of the Batman. And how is he going to do it? He's going to do it just like the journal said. He's going to get the person he's going to sacrifice, and he's going to prep the 6 stages of the preparation that needs to happen for the sacrifice to happen to complete the ritual. And the 6 preparation stages that the Riddler leads through Batman is done through a series of riddles and puzzles, and even Batman references throughout the story. It's like leading them through a labyrinth. It's all an elaborate plot, which includes a bomb in a blood bank with the spilling of blood on a individual. There it involves the kidnapping of 4 little infants, some as little as 8 days old, which is one which would really, once you get that part of the element of the story, there's one aspect of it where basically what's got to happen is, I don't want to spoil it. I know this is forever old, but as you see there, the blood and the bomb in the blood bank. There is one where Riddler sets it up where there's an 8-day-old child who has a ping ball, like ping pong, whatever. Eventually, the child chokes on this ping pong ball, and Batman he has to make a rash decision in that, in order to save the 8-day-old little infant from dying and suffocating, he's got to make a tough call, and when he has to make that call, you really do get sucked into the story. It literally is like a gut punch, and it's tough to deal with. You see an interaction with these devil dogs. I think it's just, I don't think it's a Rottweiler. What breed of dog is it that they interact with? Pit Bull Terriers. That was close. And then there's the Dance with the Dead, which we mentioned you see here with the zombies here. So there's all these little Riddlers and traps that Batman is being led through, which all kind of parallels the journal that the Riddler get is these 6 stages of preparation. And again, it really goes to show what the Riddler is willing to do. And the story is very well paced, 3 issues. How it ends up, I will say it does get wrapped together nicely in a bow at the very end. It's definitely a side of the Riddler toward the end where you kind of can see where sometimes the Riddler, again, he wants to push the envelope. He's extremely smart, superior to almost everybody in that department. But at times, he can be a wimp. He can be a yellow-belly little punk. And you see at the end, he basically does the same thing that happens to the people during the ritual in the beginning of the book. You do see a little bit of a yellow belly Riddler, but again, how Batman interacts with it, it paralleled really nicely. The very end of the story, which during the ritual in the beginning of the story, what's in the journal that the Riddler got his hands on, it parallels really nicely, and the ending really does execute really well. Overall, I think the dialogue was great. You do see parts where you have like a second party narrative throughout here, which bridges the gap between the scenes and the flow in the story really well. I love the dialogue with the journal, how explaining obviously how the ritual was done, but really the effect of what happened and it played on the people participating in this event. And some of them they could not return from it. It was just remorseful. They got sucked into the lore of gaining this power, and it's done really nicely. You don't see too much cheesy dialogue in this. You see some here and there, but it's relatively good in that end. Here, this is why I'm mentioning everything that it's explained, all the riddles all the preparation that Joker, or not Joker, damn, it's like the third time, the Riddler is leading Batman through, you don't put the pieces together until the very end. So you're really wondering what Batman is being pushed through and led through all throughout the story to the very end. And then when you put the pieces together, like, oh man, that makes perfect sense when it kind of explains everything. Because initially you're reading it, you're like, zombies, what's Riddler doing, really? But always, and then he's talking about the flamethrower and the going to the carnival with the Hall of Mirrors with the goat, and you're like, where is all this stuff going? What's the point? But at the very end, you get it, and you're like, oh, I see, it makes sense. And you look at it from Riddler's perspective, what he's capable of and what his plan is, it does make sense. So I thought that was really well done. If I had to do anything, I think some of the thugs, if I had to criticize much, the thugs, Riddler's thugs, I'll be honest, they did seem kind of cheesy. I know they're just no-name thugs, but whatever. The art, I will say, keeping it in context when this came out. Did they say the release date? I want to say it was in the early 90s. Yep, August 1990. Keeping in mind the time, I thought Kieran Dwyer, if I'm saying the name right, his art in this story was awesome. I really did enjoy the art. The colors done by Adrian Roy does have that kind of feeling of the era, to be honest, where you see some of these, the background and the sky being pink and whatnot, get some fluorescent colors here or there, they really pop off. The only thing I didn't really like is this. I'm not really a fan of seeing the pupils in Batman's eye. I just kind of like seeing just the white-out eye, but okay. But I thought the designs were great. I thought the panel layouts, there's some times where you get some really exquisite looking panel layouts, keeping in mind the times, you know. I mean, you get the basic stuff. I mean, it's basic and it breaks it up so it kind of flows well in the reading, but you get some toward the end. Like, I love this. This part here where Batman or Bruce is having a dream. He's kind of reliving the initial parts of the murder of his parents, where he has a time to maybe potentially stop it, but it doesn't really happen. But I love how some of these panels are laid out, and the drawing is just really well done. Again, if I had to knock it, again, it would be, I think, some of the colors. Well, the majority of the story, it's good. It just has some of those flamboyant pink and dark blue and some green backgrounds where it's just like, okay, go. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That one, the gut punch. It's kind of hard. So sometimes the color selection and even the coloring of the, I know what you have to do when you get these journal entries. You have to emphasize it so you know it's who's speaking. While I like the cursive handwriting, I think the dialogue box with the green, sometimes it meshes well, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe just would have been better just the white. I don't know, because obviously writing cursive, kind of keep that in context, you know who's speaking. But those, I think, are minor gripes. Again, these are just some of the cool panel layouts you begin to see when I'm going through the glass house with the goat. It was really well done. Overall, I think the Riddler was portrayed excellently in here. Batman and Bruce were portrayed excellently in here. I think the plot line was executed very well. The elements of the story will grab you and keep you engaged. And overall, this is a great read. It's 3 issues. It's a quick one. I do got the single issues. It's relatively easy to get. This was just collected and traded not too long ago, I think last year, so it should be readily available. If not, single issues, you know you're going to be able to find them in your local comic book shop. So very accessible. Highly recommend reading that story. I'd give this a 4 out of 5. Very good Batman story and a very good Riddler story if you're looking to get into a little bit more Riddler. Alright, so real quickly kind of go through the rest of the stories. Don't know if I'm going to maybe breezed through them. The Hunger Grass was pretty good. It dealt with a little bit of a cult twist, if you would, dealing with the powers of this grass that were found in the lands of Ireland, where a witch died of hunger and starvation during the plague, the potato famine, and doing so left a curse there where she died, which has the mystic powers to alter reality and whatnot. And there's an individual in Gotham who was wrongfully accused of murder and jailed, and he wants to, as you see here, Hunger, I believe is what he calls himself. He uses this grass to take vengeance. Overall, it's a very good one-and-done story, which is always nice to see. Those one-and-done stories. Thought the art was good. Was this the Paro art? Yeah, this was a Jim Aparo. So yeah, there's the witch dying on the ground. I thought the art was very good in this. Always great to see Jim Aparo art. The story was pretty decent. Again, it's a good one-and-done story. I don't think it's one that's like a classic. But if you're not able to get this trade, you come across it in your local comic book shop. I can't imagine it being too much. It's a good story. Don't think I'll even grade it. The next one, An Executioner Wore Stiletto Heels. This one was pretty good. Another one-and-done story. Dealt with more of the detective aspect of Batman, which is always nice to see. Dealt with basically a mob and a mob killer, and Batman's caught in the middle with the feds. It's a good detective crime story. It's not bad. Again, Jim Aparo art, so the art's good, but it's good. I think this one was probably not as good as the Hunger Grass in this, but still not bad. Pretty decent read. The Golem of Gotham is a two-parter. Again, Jim Aparo art. For those, if you are not big in history, if you do not know the events of Kristallnacht and the early part of the siege of the Nazi Party's reign in Germany, you might be kind of lost. So, for those who are not steeped into the history, especially in World War II, you might lose the context of some of the references here. Obviously, this deals with racism, aspects of racism, which I thought was really well told in this, as far as Batman being the warrior and to rid this element in our society, but we have someone standing up to people who adopt this ideology, and that's good, but it goes more into, again, you reference this Kristallnacht, the fall of the Night of Broken Glass, and again, if you don't know what that is, that is pretty much the inspiration behind this story. So if you don't know what that is, you might not get the full effect of the story. It does, for a minute, as you're reading this, you think you're going to read a Clayface story, to be honest, but it's not. So it does, if I had to kick it back anything, it does feel like a cheap knockoff of a Clayface story. But other than that, you take that part away, I thought this was really good. I kind of put this as probably the second, not including Dark Knight, Dark City, the remaining 4 stories. I kind of put this one the second. I think that The Dying Grass would probably be the best one, then followed by this one, and then in the Stiletto Heels story. This was good. It's just, again, the only thing, if I had to knock it, it was just felt like a cheap knockoff of a Clayface story. And finally, the story Identity Crisis. I don't think this is Aparo on art. It's not. If it is, I would be shocked, because I had some issues with the art. Yeah, Tom Mandrake. This one deals with someone who has superpowers. What's his name? The Synaptic Kid. Hooks up to Bruce Wayne's brain and finds out he's Batman. But in doing so, damages his brain. It's, to be honest, I really didn't like it. I mean, you kind of saw where they were going with it, and it just really wasn't all that good. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, again, of the other stories, that was kind of like the bottom. But I hate to really end it on a sour note, but other than that last story, Identity Crisis, the rest of the stories are solid in this. It really is. And Dark Knight, Dark City being the best one of it, kind of makes sense. So, anyway, I definitely recommend picking this up either through the trade, which is relatively cheap too, $17, so that's a steal. And even because it has that nice cardstock paper, so this is the win. Pick this up. Even though I gave Batman Dark Knight Dark City a 4 out of 5, the story as a whole, I'd also give this trade a 4 out of 5. The last story, Identity Crisis, kind of hurt it a little bit, so definitely encourage picking this one up. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this story. Hit me up in the comments below what you thought about it if you read the story, and we will bat chat about it and kind of go from there. I am in a video making mood, so I might be cranking on a couple of videos in the next couple of days. I might revisit a top 10 Batman New 52 trade list. Might do it. Might not. I don't know. Thinking about it. I think that'd be kind of fun. I sort of kind of did it before, way back, but I deleted those videos. Kind of want to revisit because I think the list has been updated. Obviously, because when I did it, it was early in New 52. So, figured it might be a good time to do it now. Then, but we'll see what kind of goes from there. So anyway, rambling. I'm out of here. Until next time, take care.